Go.
On a global level, human trafficking is considered a huge issue. Millions of people around the world today are kidnapped from their homes, either put in slavery or sex trafficking groups in each year. This is considered an emotional fact, also known as pathos, in a way where some people around the world do not care for another person's being or how they want to use their body. Did you know today that the average cost of a slave is about $90? That's cheap. With that cost, there are around 20 to 30 million slaves out in this world today. This shows around that people do not really care for what they are, and they're used at a so minimum cost that they're used for profit. Did you know when it comes to human trafficking, the U.S. is involved with that each year? There are around 14,500 to 17,500 people kidnapped from their homes each year, and around that, the average age in the U.S. for the U.S. when it comes to people is 12 to 14 years old, and they're mainly females. Those females are either run away from their homes, or they either have been kidnapped from their families. That's sad. That brings to a point where people don't care for women. People don't care that women are out here trying to do what they want to do. That actually, they're using them as property more than as their self-being.
Okay, so for our human trafficking project, our spokesperson is Carrie Underwood. We picked her because she is a very famous and important contributor to the End It movement, which is a human trafficking and slave movement. So, Shaun?
The End It movement is basically a movement that involves all the leading organizations to basically end human trafficking. On her Instagram post that she made on February 22nd, which was also known as Shine a Light on Slavery Day, millions of people went ahead and took a stand with her by doing a simple X on their hand that symbolizes the end it of slavery and human trafficking.
All right, so one way you can help with human trafficking today is there's a toll-free number you can help 24/7, help with anyone. Just like if you need to call someone and let people know like where people are and stuff, they can always send police and whatnot just to help. And this is how the toll-free number is helping, Shaun.
Basically how it's helping is it's allowing people to call this number anonymously, allowing them to be more comfortable with themselves, so that way they can know for sure that they'll be helping somebody out, just in case anything is actually happening in the sex trafficking world that we don't know of.
Good afternoon. I would like to introduce Sophia. Sophia's mother was a prostitute in Mexico. Sophia's father was and still is right here in the state of Indiana. When Sophia was 10 years old, she was coerced into adoption by her father. The same father, by the way, who then proceeded to raise her as a prostitute. Sophia's father was also the member of a gang that directly facilitated the trafficking of his own daughter. In addition to being raised as a prostitute in her own house, Sophia was also forced to live for days at a time in a storage shed where adult men had unlimited access to her. Sometimes Sophia's services were exchanged for motorcycle parts. After years of daily chronic sexual abuse, Sophia was finally impregnated by her own father by the age of 13. The same father, by the way, who then proceeded to violently abort the baby himself. To this day, Sophia's father is a free man here in the state of Indiana. He was never charged, and he was never prosecuted for his actions. But my question for us here today is, did all of these events which transpired in Sophia's childhood affect the way in which her brain developed? The answer is absolutely.
And we got along really well. He was really funny and charming, and he had a nice car, and he always picked up the tab. He had nice clothes. And he told me he was a record producer, that he had a band up in Portland, and that's why he frequently went out of town. There's a saying that says when you take a child by the hand, you take the mother by the heart. And I really think that's what happened for me, because I had this new little girl and this man who showed this desperate attention towards her, like he wanted to really help make this family that I really wanted for my daughter. And he invited me to move in with him after about 6 months of dating, and I was really excited. And I brought him down to Southern Oregon to meet my family, and everything seemed fine until we arrived in Las Vegas. He said we were moving there because that was the entertainment capital of the world, and being a record producer and having a band, that's where they were going to get the most gigs and the most jobs, and that's where his job was leading him. So I desperately wanted to go with him, to be with him, and to start this family that he promised me. He pulled up to an escort service, and he said, "This is how it works in Vegas. I've spent a lot of money to get you here. I put first and last on an apartment. I filled your fridge up with food, and you're gonna need to earn that money back." And I felt trapped. I felt like, how am I gonna get out of this? And you didn't know if you were gonna live or die. You didn't know what he was gonna do or what he was capable of, and so it was really scary. I can remember just running through the casino thinking, like, these people don't even have a clue what's going on. They're just, cha-ching, cha-ching, Las Vegas, yay! And they're doing all this stuff, and I'm running for my life. I'm running from a man that has forced me into doing things that I didn't want to do. When you have a trafficker that's waiting at home with your child and says, if you don't bring home $1,500, you're gonna find your daughter out on the corner, I think I was probably more frightened to go home than I was to be in the room. Because if you got robbed, it was your fault for being stupid. If you got raped, it was your fault for not watching your back. Anything that happened to you was typically your fault, and you incurred more punishment for allowing those things to happen to you. So it made you always walk in fear of your trafficker.
All right, so this is a pretty good way that can help human trafficking altogether in the world.
There will basically be human trafficking awareness training. This is available to all businesses, first responders, law enforcement, educators, and federal employees. This is available to all citizens that are interested, and if this is something you're looking into, this is something that can really help our humanity as a whole.
And it's free, so